Off the tip off with Noah and Gage here, coming at you with a little bit more of NFL offseason action. Some big news hitting in. Geno Smith traded. Myles Garrett continues to play for the Browns. Um, Gage, those are the two big ones on my head. There was a couple smaller ones. Nick Bolton signed with the Chiefs. You got anything else there that we're gonna hit on?
Yeah, I mean, just like you said, a couple quick hitters. Nick Bolton re-signs with the Chiefs, $45 million deal. That was kind of the deal when Joe Thuney got dealt. I kind of figured that money was going there, and then Trey Smith playing under that franchise tag. Aaron Jones re-signed with the Vikings today, a 2-year deal, so they keep him in Minnesota, which I was kind of shocked actually a little bit considering how good this upcoming running back draft class is, but never hurts to have a guy like him in the building.
Yeah,
And then
saw a little bit earlier. Von Miller released from the Bills, so interesting there. Someone going to take a swing at him for the last couple years of his life expectancy in the NFL.
Yeah, and then we'll get started with this. Spend a little bit of time on this before hopping over to the Las Vegas Raiders. Myles Garrett stayed. His name stayed in the offseason. Rumors there for a while. Is he going to get traded? Is he not going to get traded? Is a team willing to? I shouldn't say is a team willing to give up, because I'm sure a lot of teams were willing to trade a lot of picks for him. But Cleveland says, "Hey, we're not trading him," and they sign him to a record deal, and he stays in Cleveland.
Yeah, really interesting there because I thought he was a guy that wanted to compete for a championship, and I think the Browns are multiple pieces away after this season. Watching that, so really interesting to see him sign back. But money talks. Like, let's be honest here, money talks. Don't think it was equal to what Max Crosby got in his deal at the defensive end position, but just really interesting to see that he stayed with the Browns because of like he kind of hinted towards all offseason he wanted to compete for a Super Bowl.
Yeah, so his numbers actually did pass
Oh, did they?
Max Crosby. Yeah, so he signed a $123.5 million deal in guaranteed money, rounding out to about $40 million a year. So he got his bag, and kind of like you said, you know, kind of the Browns are the farthest thing from competing right now, and maybe that changes if they get a quarterback here in the draft, or I don't want to say a free agent quarterback necessarily takes them over the edge, but it's definitely better than what they've had to deal with the Watson and stuff like that. So he stays in Ohio, man. The Cleveland to Canton is still one for him. He's a Hall of Fame player for sure. It's just kind of one of those ordeals where it sucks that he's going to be spending his career in Cleveland, and for the foreseeable future, I'm not sure that they're going to be competitive or good. So just kind of unfortunate. You always love to see guys, good players. I think of like Aaron Donald. Obviously, they made that huge move to go get Stafford, and they end up winning a Super Bowl. And it's good to see stories like that for defensive players, especially.
Interesting to see though from the Browns as well. Like, outside of the Myles Garrett standpoint, but the Browns standpoint, like, yeah, Myles Garrett's a great player, and he's been probably the best edge rusher in the NFL for multiple years now. But when you go back and look at it, like, by signing him and giving him this money, in my opinion, you're kind of towards like a little bit of a rebuild. So in the situation, you giving him all this money, an older player, not old, but an older player, you're giving him this money. What do you do? What do you do in the off season to make yourself able to compete in one of the toughest divisions in football with the Steelers, Ravens, and Bengals? So very, very interesting to see them go there and especially spend the money on defense when we kind of saw that that's been an offensive driven league, and that's why the Steelers haven't been able to compete recently because of the offense issues they have there. Playing two elite offenses in the Bengals and the Ravens.
Yeah, and then I was looking here, wanted to touch on the fact of the no trade clause. I believe Noah, it was here it is right here. Sorry. Contract also includes a no trade clause and ties Garrett to the Browns through the 2030 season. So there's now nobody who can get him for the next 5 seasons. So he's locked in, man. Good for him. He got his money. He'll continue to put up numbers, but we'll see.
Now, potentially,
Cleveland.
he waive his no trade clause essentially? Like, if he wanted to, go somewhere, or maybe he gets 2 years in this contract, he's like, shit, we're still awful. Uh, could he waive that? Is that up to him, or is that?
You see, I'm not sure how that works. I'd have to actually look at the contract situation, if that's a no trade clause on his side of things,
Yeah,
where
that's what I
he
was
has the
wondering.
say in it, or if it's the franchise saying things. I'm not sure how that necessarily works. So transitioning off that, Noah, let's get into the meat and potatoes here of this video. Geno Smith. We kind of had some foreshadowing here. I think you said it a couple of videos ago, and multiple times, kind of hinting at the fact that the Seahawks are going to move off Geno, and sure enough, man, here they are.
Yeah, I really like this for both teams. Seahawks, you kind of are getting rid of a lot of pieces in DK, Ty Lockett. Now you're rocking with a little bit of a younger receiving core. You're obviously pieces away from competing in that division. So go ahead and step off of Geno, give him to a team that is in need of some solid quarterback play. I'm not going to go on the mist and say Geno's a top 10 quarterback in the league, but he's a solid player, right? Like, he takes their quarterback situation from -3 to a solid 7, and that is great for the Raiders organization. And we've kind of talked off camera a little bit, with this draft picks now, you kind of have a really interesting option. Like, do you fill up that offense, or do you go defense? Me and you are both kind of more on the offensive side of the football. Go ahead and load that offense up, because you're going to have to score points to compete in that division.
Yeah, you have a serious chance at pick 7 if you choose to go this route, to add Ashton Genty, the best running back in this upcoming draft class, or Tet McMillan, the best wide receiver in this draft class, who, if he can get by Jacksonville at 5, or the Patriots at 4, I believe has a real chance of going to the Las Vegas Raiders. So it'll be interesting to see if they decide to go kind of that flashy route. New GM, obviously, Spy Tech. So you kind of see sometimes these new GMs and come in and make a safe draft pick, whether that's offensive or defensive line, or maybe a really good cornerback like Will Johnson from Michigan. So it'll be interesting to see how they play things out in the draft. But Genty is an interesting pick. Obviously, that would be electric with Pete Carroll and kind of the way that he treated Marshawn Lynch in those glory days in Seattle. But as good as this running back draft class is, do you go the other route with McMillan or a Mason Graham or somebody like that? So, yeah, we'll kind of jump into the draft side of things a little bit later in this. So I think the big takeaway from this, Noah, is we've been saying it, right? New GM comes in, hires Pete Carroll. So your new GM is as steady as it gets. Spytek's a really good GM, knows exactly what he's doing. Hires Pete Carroll, who's a consistent head coach. He's going to bring energy every day and knows how to win games in the NFL. And then they go and get a quarterback who you and I both agree is, middle of the road to I don't want to say above average, but a little bit better than a average quarterback in the NFL. Geno Smith, who right here in front of me, Noah, he was 4th in the NFL in yards last year at 4,320 with 21 touchdowns and 15 interceptions. So he brings, like you said, better quarterback play than what they've been used to since the Derek Carr days, where he led them to the playoffs there that one year.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's what I'm hitting on if I'm a GM. If I'm Spytek in his position, let's go get Geno another weapon. We saw him produce at the Seahawks with Metcalf, Lockett, Najigba this past year, and then a solid running back. But I'm like, hey, let's go get him one more receiving option. He's got Jacoby Myers, he's got Bowers, and you slip Tet in there, and it's like, oh man, like, this offense is for real.
You and I are in pretty good agreement that Tyler Lockett has a really good chance of joining that team too at some
exactly.
point.
And I like it even better now that Geno. I mean, that's going to give Geno a familiar face to throw.
Hell, at this point, trade your second to get DK in there too.
Yeah, I mean, you could. That's, like I said, it's very interesting to see what the Raiders will do here in the draft, because, like you said, this is totally new territory for them, where they have a solid quarterback in play, and now they're not questioning, oh man, what are we going to do at quarterback this season? Are we starting Minshew? Are we starting O'Connell? I mean, these guys, like you hinted towards in other videos, I mean, these guys could be working at Lowe's and Home Depot, and now we've got a solid quarterback play with Geno Smith. Raiders are going to be a team to watch this year, just in the sense of like a complete 360 of what they were, years past.
Yeah, compared to what you've been watching, the quarterback play of Gardner Minshew and Aiden O'Connell, watching Geno Smith is going to be equivalent of watching like Josh Allen in Las Vegas. They'll be super excited to see some consistency under the center there in Las Vegas. So before I want to talk about the contract stuff, Noah, and kind of the falling out that he had in Seattle, I actually want you to say, you brought up a good point before we started this. You play in a division where you need to score points, right? So that, nobody's sitting here saying that Geno is a gunslinger by any means at this point in his career. But as I said, about 4,300 passing yards, you have to be able to put up some points against Mahomes, Herbert, and Bo Nix at this point. Like, it's a really good division. And Las Vegas, I would feel pretty comfortable saying that they are going to at least compete this year in division specifically.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. And like I said, you have to put up points because, for one, the Broncos are going to be a solid defense. Like, they're going to continually be a solid defense. But their offense is getting better with Bo Nix and Sean Payton, calling plays to set up Bo Nix in successful situations. Additionally, you're going against Herbert, who is another solid quarterback that they're going to continue to put up points as well in that offense. If they can go get a receiver in this offseason, it'll be very interesting to see what they do. And then you got the Chiefs as well. So those are three teams that can put up points, and the Chiefs and Broncos can stop points. So if you already have a bad offense and you're going against a good defense, that puts you 5 levels behind. But if you have an offense that is, let's not say the Raiders' offense is going to be great next year, but you have a good offense, right? If you have a good offense, it makes it a lot easier on the offensive scheme to put points on the football, put points on the scoreboard.
The scoreboard. Yeah, for sure. So here's the deal, man. And this kind of came out today, really. The Seahawks and Geno were trying to work out this extension because, as we mentioned, I mean, it's hard to pay a middle of the road quarterback above average quarterback numbers because it depletes your team. We said the same thing with Daniel Jones and the Giants, and you kind of see how that played out. He moved off him pretty quickly. So Seahawks' initial offer here, $35 million, but Geno Smith and his side wanted roughly $45 million. So I have a really good idea that once they were kind of realized, hey, we're not going to reach this $45 million mark, he then became available to the point where Las Vegas obviously swoops in, and for a 3rd round pick, you're definitely going to get your value back.
Yeah, very interesting to see. I would be interested to see what teams were contacted, like what teams contacted for Geno right now, because you can look at the Giants right now, who would have got a lot better with the addition of Geno. You've got the Raiders, that obviously got a lot better with the addition of Geno. You've got a place that he's been before in the Jets, right, that could have got a lot better with Geno. So, like you said, whenever they couldn't meet numbers, I'm sure they were like, all right, Geno's on the market, who wants him? So I would like to see who contacted Seattle to get a deal done for Geno. And hell, it could have only been the Raiders because Pete Carroll was so high on him.
That's true, Noah. And yeah, it kind of happened so quickly, I think, or at least in terms of the media, kind of what we see from Shefty and a couple other NFL sources. So this was kind of a bombshell, really. I don't think a lot of people saw this one coming, including myself. So good for Geno, man. I obviously, we're huge fans, got to see him in WVU and some of his best days. So he's a ball player, man. He's a winner, and he continues to not write back. So I'm happy for him. They're going to be competitive. Yeah. I mean, Jacoby Myers and Lockett, I'm sure, will be coming. So they're a running back and a receiver away from the offense being able to really compete and spend some money in free agency on the defensive side of the ball. And I think you're setting yourself up for, a really good foundation for the next couple of years.
I mean, the thing is, though, a lot of organizations don't realize 6 or 7 wins for a team like the Raiders would be phenomenal for a first-year coach to come in and get. If Pete Carroll could come in and get 6 or 7 wins in his first year, that would be a huge culture builder right there in Las Vegas, and that could set them up, to really start competing, make a push for that division. I mean, obviously you're going against Patrick Mahomes. He's always going to be, damn near impossible to beat out in that division, but simple as this, I mean, you have wild card spots. There's other things available where the Raiders could, 2 or 3 years, we could be talking about the Raiders as an actual contender in that division.
A team that was 4-13 last year. I mean, you're talking 7-8 wins. You're almost doubling your win total from last year. And another thing that we kind of need to talk about, Noah, is this is the team that went out and spent money to bring in Chip Kelly to be the offensive coordinator. He spent that this past year at Ohio State. So they're spending money. They're doing the right things. And I think it's going to show next year.
Yeah, and really interesting to see how the offense will be handled. Seems like Chip Kelly's always been a fan of running the football. We saw it with Ohio State this past year. They had the best receiver in college football out wide, and they still continue to run the football. No shame in the game with Chip Kelly. So I'm sure we will see an addition of a running back, whether it be draft or free agency. It'll be interesting to see how they start to landscape that offense together.
I think Chip Kelly is a reason to kind of build upon the fact where I think they will pass on Genty at their pick in the first round, because that second round, the early pick, they have Judkins and Travion Henderson, who played for Chip Kelly. I would, really imagine are going to be sitting on the board there, that early second round pick, who are more than capable of handling a big role. Because right now that room is only Alexander Madison and Sincere McCormick, and Zamir White. So definite upgrade if Judkins and Travion Henderson come in, or one of the two.
Kind of a long shot here, but it just came to my mind, so I have to speak it out loud. Geno Smith is cousins with Jeremiah Smith at Ohio State, so Chip Kelly offense, Geno Smith led with a Jeremiah Smith out wide maybe next year. I don't know. That's kind of maybe a little bit of foreshadowing, but that'd be interesting.
Let's see if you and I believe that they're going to get about 7 or 8 wins, they definitely won't be picking higher than where they're at this year. So good by the Raiders, man. I guess last thing that I kind of want to say about this definitely takes them, out of the Shedeur sweepstakes, I'd imagine. So they were kind of a team where I thought if Shedeur slips past the Giants somehow at 3, they were the next team there to take a quarterback, them and the Jets. So
yeah,
it'd be interesting to see if this was kind of a move where after the combine, it's something where, okay, Shedeur is now a lock to be a top 3 pick. He's not going to be there, so we need to pivot and go this way and get a quarterback.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was just about to hit on. Free agency. Free agency is doing numbers on mocks right now. Like, mocks are completely changing because the way free agency's rolling.
And then last thing we'll talk about here, Noah, how does this affect the Seattle Seahawks? Now you're moving off Geno. Your current quarterback is Sam Howell, who they traded a 3rd-round pick for to the Commanders. And now you're sitting here. I saw a lot of buzz of Sam Darnold now potentially going to the Seahawks. So that's a destination. Still some names out there, man. Sam Darnold, Aaron Rodgers, Justin Fields, obviously. So does somebody or does something come to your mind there to replace Sam Howell, or do you think that they're going to run out him for a year? What are you kind of thinking there?
I don't think they'll run out Sam Howell as their starting quarterback because let's be honest, Seattle's not used to losing a lot of games. Like, I don't think they will take the chance on Sam Howell being their starter. But I do say I'm not exactly sure if they'll go Darnold, if they'll go Fields. I think they'll go with the player that is most serviceable for the least amount of money. Because I think they knew they had average quarterback play with Geno Smith. And I don't think they wanted him to pay him, like we spoke about with Daniel Jones, give one of these guys big money to have an average quarterback. So I think that's where they'll kind of pivot towards, okay, what guy can we get that's most serviceable for the least dollar amount? So I'm thinking maybe Fields. I think Fields would probably sign for the least amount of money in that because he's not really a proven starter in the league yet. So
I mean, we'll see, man. It's crazy. A 10-win team, Noah, is moving off their starting quarterback in the offseason. I didn't have that one on my bingo card, so it kind of be interesting to see how the Seahawks play things out in this offseason. So, I mean, I'm good off this, man. Like I said, I'm happy for Geno reuniting with Pete Carroll, so I think they'll do great things.
Yeah, we hit on some other free agency signings there. Aaron Jones returns to Minnesota. Or Green Bay, sorry. Vice versa, sorry. He was
Minnesota
to Minnesota. Still got DK rumors out. Where will he go? Just a lot of fun, interesting things going on in the offseason. It's kind of what you live for because obviously we hate not having football to watch on Sundays. But additionally, like, this stuff makes it fun and it kind of makes you have a little bit of a build-up into your Sundays.
Yeah, and it's fun to kind of sit around and speculate where people will go or things like that. So keeps us busy for sure. No football, so.
Yeah. So I think I'm all good on the video. Are you good here with this, Gage?
Good, man.
All right. So like always, comment, subscribe. Additionally, Gage and I are going to get a Mock video draft rolled out soon. Like we said, with free agency and trades going on, it kind of speculates, like we just said, it takes Shedeur out of the picture for the Raiders, right? So just little additions here and there can kind of help you fill out your board. So we're going to get a video rolled out here to you soon with the mock draft rolling. All right.